Have you ever felt the walls of your own life closing in? Not the walls of a room, not the walls that keep you safe, but the walls that are built from your own awareness, the quiet kind, the kind that comes from seeing too much, feeling too much, understanding too much. You walk through the day, and the world moves around you as if it were a stage. People laugh, talk, reach for each other, and you feel it differently. Their joy is sharp, their sorrow is heavier. It presses against your chest in ways you cannot name, and slowly, imperceptibly, it begins to crowd you. Have you noticed how silence can feel loud, how absence can suffocate? You are surrounded by people, yet the spaces between them grow wider in your perception. You wonder, does anyone truly exist here, or is it just masks passing by, reflections of a life you no longer inhabit? There is a danger in this. Awareness, when untempered, is not liberation. It is a slow unraveling. Each thought, each feeling you absorb, it lodges in your veins like a cold shadow. You try to ignore it, try to carry on as though you are like everyone else, but the weight of what you feel, what you see, presses deeper. And then the question arrives, quiet, insistent. Who are you when no one is looking? Who are you when the masks fall, when the lights fade, when the world's comforting illusions vanish? It is not a pleasant question. It is a dangerous one. One that scratches at the edges of your mind, unrelenting, patient, waiting for you to stumble. Some nights it comes in whispers. Others it hits like a chill that seeps into the bones, curling around the marrow. You may have tried to answer it before. You may have distracted yourself with laughter, with obligations, with fleeting connections. But the truth does not leave. It waits in the dark corners of your consciousness, and it is not gentle. Have you felt it? That strange, quiet knowing that life as you have lived it, every comforting story, every act of goodwill, every attempt at understanding is no longer enough. That something in you is shifting even as the world carries on, blind to the change. This is the moment before everything tilts, before the ground beneath you becomes unfamiliar. It is a subtle moment, almost imperceptible. A glance that lingers too long, a word that strikes deeper than it should, a feeling that is not yours but becomes yours nonetheless. And suddenly, the walls you have built, the routines, the assumptions, the faces you have trusted, they begin to tremble. You may feel fear. You may feel grief. You may feel a heaviness so profound it feels as if the air itself conspires against you. But it is not fear that will define this moment. It is awareness. The kind of awareness that burns quietly, relentlessly. Ask yourself, now, in this stillness, what will remain when everything familiar falls away? Will you recognize yourself, or will you stare at a stranger in the mirror? It is not a question meant to be answered lightly. It is meant to linger, to unsettle, to remind you that emotions, your own and those you absorb from others, are not mere experiences. They are dangerous power. They shape the mind, warp the heart, and leave marks invisible to the world but indelible to the soul. You have felt it. You have sensed it creeping, widening, reshaping you quietly from within. The walls of your life are not just closing in. They are reshaping themselves around the weight of what you carry. And there is no one to open the door, no one to explain it, no one to stop it. So you pause, you listen. The silence is heavy. Your own heartbeat echoes louder than the world outside, and in that echo, the question whispers again. Who are you really? You have been carrying it for so long, haven't you? The weight of feelings that were never meant for you. The currents of other people's despair, their longing, their anger, all settling in your chest, in your bones, in the quiet spaces of your mind. You have carried them silently. Not out of choice, but out of necessity. It is exhausting, invisible, unseen, and yet it has defined you. You have learned to feel without pause, to notice without comment, to absorb without acknowledgement. And in that, there is a strange kind of isolation, not the kind that comes from being alone in a room, but the kind that seeps in from the world itself, a world that cannot touch what you carry and perhaps does not even understand that it exists. Do you feel it now, that quiet ache that sits behind your ribs when no one else can reach, that whisper of sorrow that is not yours yet you claim it as if it were? You are not weak for this, you are not broken, you are burdened, and the burden is real. You may have tried to explain it before, tried to show the world your depth, to ask for recognition, for relief, and perhaps they could not see, perhaps they turned away, perhaps their eyes, when they looked at you, missed what you truly were, and that too becomes part of the weight, the loneliness of being hyper-aware in a world that does not pause to notice. You are sensitive, yes, but sensitivity is not softness, it is not innocence, it is a kind of power, dangerous, quiet, demanding. It allows you to see where others look away. It allows you to feel where others shut down. And yet, this power is a double-edged shadow. It nurtures, but it destroys. It draws the world close, only to leave you hollowed out. Have you noticed how it changes you? How each interaction leaves a residue, subtle but persistent? How your own feelings are no longer purely your own, but a mixture of your pulse and the echoes of everyone else's? You have learned to navigate it, to fold it, hide it, absorb it, and in the process you have been unseen. And perhaps that is why you are here, listening now. Because somewhere, in the quiet dark of this moment, you recognize the truth. You have been carrying more than anyone should. You have been absorbing lives, absorbing pain, absorbing joy, and twisting it into your own. And the world has not thanked you, has not even noticed. You may feel frustration, bitterness, exhaustion that no sleep can touch. These are valid. They are not signs of failure. They are the evidence of your existence in a world too loud, too careless, too fast to honor the quiet labor of the soul. Pause, breathe, feel the weight in your chest. Acknowledge it, not to change it, not to fix it, but to simply see it clearly, for it is yours as much as it is theirs. And there is a certain clarity in this recognition, a mirror held up to the truth of what it means to be as attuned as you are. You are alone, not in the sense of abandonment, but in the sense of comprehension. No one else truly feels what you feel. No one else can bear the constant tides of empathy that pass through you, shaping you, reshaping you, leaving you raw. And yet, there is a strange, grim nobility in this, a recognition of your place in the world, stark and unadorned. You do not need applause, you do not need consolation, you do not need answers, you need acknowledgement. This simple act of recognizing that what you carry is real, that your experience is valid, that your depth is not an error in the human system, but a presence. A weight, a force. Let that sit. Let it sink. You are seen in this moment, not by the world, not by anyone else, but by yourself, and for now, that is enough. Inside you there is a war. It is not a war of fists or fire, but of shadows and whispers. Every thought you have, every feeling you harbor, carries a weight that is unseen, unfelt by anyone else, and yet it is relentless. You want to help, to soothe, to absorb the suffering of others so that they may go on unburdened. And in that desire, you lose pieces of yourself, quietly, imperceptibly. Do you notice it? That gnawing tension when your own needs rise, quietly, like a small flame, and you immediately extinguish it? When your hunger, your fatigue, your despair even, seems unworthy because there is someone else's pain louder, closer, more insistent. You have been taught, or perhaps compelled by your nature, to place yourself last, and you do it so well that you forget where you end and where they begin. It is a dangerous balance, one that you walk every day without recognition. Compassion is your sword, but it can cut both ways. Every act of understanding, every silent absorption of suffering strengthens the world outside and weakens the fragile interior that is yours alone. You may wonder, when does it tip? When does giving become depletion? When does care become a trap? There is no guidebook. There is no safe path. The currents of human emotion are endless, unrelenting, unpredictable. And you are a vessel, forced to navigate without compass, without map, without pause. And so each day becomes a negotiation. Each encounter a test. How much can you take before you fracture? How much can you give before the self you know becomes a stranger? And yet, there is guilt in the opposite. The thought of stepping back, of shielding yourself, of putting distance between your heart and the suffering around you. There is an almost unbearable shame in that. A whispering voice that says, how can you turn away? How can you leave them to drown in what you feel? You are caught between two shadows, one that devours you from the inside and one that whispers condemnation when you try to protect yourself. Both are real. Both are dangerous. Both are parts of you that you have long denied, long ignored, long feared. Sometimes you feel the tension as a physical ache, a tightness in the chest, a hollow pull in the stomach, a thrum behind the eyes. It is not illness. It is awareness. Awareness of the endless absorption. Awareness of the impossible responsibility that comes with being attuned beyond measure. And it is quiet, patient, cruel. Do you notice how your mind splits? How part of you wants to flee, to hide, to become unfeeling, and another part, deeper, darker, insists, stay. Stay and bear it, absorb it all, understand it all, feel it all. The pull is magnetic, the conflict eternal, and there is no one to arbitrate, no one to witness, no one to say, enough. In this inner battlefield, you are both general and soldier, observer and prisoner. The lines shift constantly, and sometimes you are lost in them. You may feel rage, despair, helplessness or exhaustion, but above all, a strange clarity, the clarity that the world is not yours to fix, that its chaos, its suffering, its unrelenting currents of emotion are beyond control. Yet control is precisely what you have sought through empathy, through care, through relentless absorption. And now perhaps you see it, that in this endless conflict, in this quiet war of feeling and consciousness, you are not powerless. But neither are you free. You are contained. You are stretched. You are dangerous. Pause. Breathe. Feel it, the tension in your chest, the pull in your mind, the weight of all the unspoken, unclaimed emotions you carry. This is not weakness. This is not failing. This is existence. And existence, for someone like you, is a battlefield you cannot leave, a war you cannot surrender, and a power you cannot ignore. There comes a moment when the walls you have built around yourself, the careful routines, the masks you wear for the world, they begin to crack. It is not sudden. It does not arrive with fanfare. There is no dramatic collapse, no screaming, no announcement. It begins quietly, as if a shadow has settled in your chest, expanding slowly, filling every hollow space. You may not even notice at first, only a subtle fatigue, a heaviness behind your eyes, a quiet tremor in your hands. Then the nights come differently, not peaceful, not restful. You lie awake and feel the pulse of everyone else's sorrow beating in rhythm with your own heart. Each sigh, each unspoken fear, each regret, each unnoticed longing, it presses against your mind. You try to push it away, you try to sleep. But sleep does not come, and even if it did, it would not quiet the storm. You may think no one sees you, and perhaps they do not. But the collapse is not for their eyes, it is for your own. It is a reckoning that no one can witness, because it exists in the spaces between words, in the silence after conversation, in the empty room after the world has moved on. Tears come sometimes, not always as tears, sometimes as tension in your shoulders, a hollow ache in your chest, a nausea of awareness that you cannot name, and in those moments you understand something terrifying. The weight you carry is not external. It is not other people's sorrow alone. It has been nesting in you all along, shaping you, twisting you, reshaping your perception of reality. There is a strange, quiet horror in this. You may feel as though you are unraveling, but in truth you are simply becoming visible to yourself. The parts of you you have ignored, the pain you have buried, the emotions you have absorbed as duty, they rise, and they are relentless. Pause, breathe, listen. Hear your own heartbeat in the silence. Every thrum is a reminder. The collapse is not weakness, it is awareness. And awareness can be cruel. It demands to be felt even when you are unprepared. It strips away comfort, certainty, and illusions. Do you notice how stillness becomes unbearable? How quiet is no longer peaceful but an accomplice, amplifying the shadows in your mind? The world outside continues, oblivious. Conversations, laughter, light, they carry on as if your inner storm does not exist. And perhaps that is the cruelest part. No one can hear the sound of your unraveling because it is inaudible, almost invisible, even to yourself. And yet, there is a certain clarity in the breakdown, not a relief, not a resolution, but a truth so stark it cannot be denied. You are not whole. You are stretched thin across the lives of others. You are entangled in currents you cannot control, and every attempt to save, to absorb, to understand has chipped away at the self that remains. In this quiet collapse, you may sense something new stirring, not comfort, not hope, not warmth, but an unflinching recognition of what exists beneath the surface, a recognition of the fragility and power of your own consciousness, a dangerous acknowledgement that emotions are not gentle. They are forces, they are currents, they are capable of destroying as much as they are capable of shaping. And in the silence, in the emptiness, in the tremor of your own heartbeat, you understand the depth of what it means to feel too much, to know too much, to exist in the tension between your empathy and your own survive. Al, you do not cry out, you do not fight, you do not run, you simply sit, you breathe, and you witness yourself breaking piece by piece, quietly, invisibly, and it is enough. Because in this witnessing you begin to see, and what you see will change everything. And then you see it, not in a mirror, not in the eyes of another, but in the quiet spaces of your mind where nothing can hide. The part of yourself you have always denied, the part that envies, that resents, that hoards and manipulates without intention. That feels rage sometimes at the world for daring to exist in its careless way. That part of you, hidden beneath layers of compassion and self-sacrifice, rises. It is subtle at first, a flicker in thought, a shadow along the edges of feeling. But soon it is undeniable. The darkness you feared in others has been within you all along. You are not only the absorber, the empath, the healer, you are also the shadow, the unseen, dangerous, unacceptable part of yourself. Pause, breathe, let that sit. This realization is not comforting, it is not warm, it is not kind. It is a mirror held up to your soul, reflecting the truth you have long avoided. And it is precise. You may want to look away, but the shadow does not allow it. It whispers in quiet moments you are more than you admit. You are capable of harm, of cruelty, of withdrawal, of selfishness. You are both the pain and the savior. You are both the collapse and the strength. Do you feel the weight of tar? His, the simultaneous horror and clarity. It is disorienting, unsettling, perhaps even frightening. For you have spent your life seeing the darkness in others, trying to absorb it, to soften it, to heal it. And now the darkness within you is undeniable. It does not come as punishment, it comes as truth. And truth is always uncomfortable. Truth does not ask for forgiveness. It does not offer consolation. It simply exists quietly, relentlessly, until you recognize it. You may feel shame, disgust, fear, These are natural, but they are also small, fleeting. The shadow is larger, older, more persistent, and it does not shrink under emotion. It waits, it watches. It grows more vivid the longer you ignore it, and in its presence you are compelled to acknowledge it, to confront it, to see yourself fully, without masks, without distraction, without justification. The shadow is not evil, not in the conventional sense. It is merely all that you deny, all that you hide from yourself, all that you refuse to see. And to deny it is to remain fragmented, lost, forever chasing the impossible ideal of perfection, of purity, of unbroken empathy. Pause, listen. Feel the quiet in your chest, the pull in your mind. This is your mind reshaping itself silently, slowly, relentlessly. And in the reshaping there is recognition. Power resides here. Not soft power, not comforting power, dangerous, cold, precise power. The power of awareness, of self-knowledge, of understanding your own capacity, Fef. Or both light and shadow. Do you notice how this realization changes you? How the world outside no longer appears quite the same? How every interaction, every absorbed emotion, every reflection of others' suffering now carries a new weight, a new lens, a new truth? You are not merely the empath. You are the empath who knows the shadow. You are the observer of both yourself and the darkness within. This is the turning point. Not a turning toward comfort, not a turning toward light, but a turning toward truth, toward clarity, toward recognition of the dangerous, fragile, potent self that has always existed beneath the surface. And in that recognition, you are alone, uncomfortably so. And yet, in the discomfort, there is awakening, not of hope, not of joy, but of awareness. And awareness, once claimed, can never be surrendered. You begin to step back, not with anger, not with triumph, not with relief, but with quiet necessity. The currents of other people's emotions, so heavy, so insistent, so unending, begin to press too close. And you are learning slowly, almost imperceptibly, that you cannot absorb everything without shattering. It is not detachment in the sense of apathy. It is a deliberate distance, a silence around the self, a recognition that some storms are not yours to calm, some suffering is not yours to carry, and yet even in this distance, the weight of awareness remains. You do not become unfeeling. You do not become cold entirely. You simply learn to survive among the tides of emotion without being consumed by them. Pause, breathe, feel the quiet that follows a world's chaos, the absence of intrusion, and notice the tension that remains, the constant hum of awareness that never fully leaves you. This withdrawal is not easy. Every instinct urges you to reach, to absorb, to soothe. To step back feels like betrayal. Sometimes you even hear the whisper, you are failing them, you are abandoning them. And yet stepping back is not failure. It is acknowledgement. It is recognition that your own being is fragile, that your own presence has limits, and that boundaries, though invisible, subtle, almost painful, are necessary. Do you feel the dissonance? How strange it is to crave connection and simultaneously resist it, to want to touch, to save, to hold, and yet to know that every act of immersion carries cost, that every embrace carries exhaustion. And so, you begin to observe without interference. You listen without absorbing. You watch without being swept away. And in the observing you are both present and absent. There is an unsettling clarity in this, a stillness that is neither comforting nor cruel. It is precise. You notice the emotions that once overwhelmed you, but they no longer pull you under. You see the suffering of others, and you can measure its weight. You can recognize its shape. And for the first time, perhaps, you realize that feeling does not always require doing. That understanding does not always demand action. Pause. Let the quiet stretch. Notice your heartbeat. Notice the tension in your mind. Notice the stillness. It is fragile, it is necessary, and it is yours. This detachment is not permanent. You will not become a stone. You will not escape the currents entirely. But you begin to see the edges of your own existence with clarity. You begin to see the difference between what is yours and what belongs to the world. And in this vision there is power. Quiet, cold, deliberate power. Not the kind the world admires, not the kind the world recognizes, but the kind that sustains you. You may feel sorrow, you may feel guilt, you may even feel fear at the emptiness that comes with stepping back. These feelings are natural. They are proof that you are still alive, still attuned, still capable of depth, and yet they no longer control you. In this phase you are both participant and observer, both present and removed, both aware and untouchable. And in this tension, in this careful, deliberate withdrawal, you begin to reclaim yourself. Not with warmth, not with joy, but with precision, with awareness, with cold clarity that has its own weight, its own danger, its own beauty. Pause. Let that linger. Notice the silence, the space between your own heartbeat and the world's pulse. This is the distance you have carved for yourself. This is the first quiet step toward understanding your own potency. And in that step, the world, chaotic, bright, unrelenting, continues oblivious. And why? How? Remain. And then it comes, not warmth, not light, not comfort, but a cold clarity, a stillness so precise it cuts through the chaos you have carried for so long. You notice it first as absence, the absence of panic, the absence of compulsive absorption, the absence of surrender. And in that absence something stirs. You feel your boundaries, once fragile, now defined, not by force, not by struggle, not by the applause of the world, but by recognition, recognition of your own limits, recognition of your own depths, recognition that the currents you have carried need not define you any longer. Pause. Breathe. Feel it. The quiet power beneath your chest, steady, unwavering. You have walked through collapse. You have confronted the shadow. You have stepped back from the world. And now, you sense the emergence of something new, not joy, not hope, not reassurance, something sharper, something potent, something true. Do you notice it? How small acts of awareness now feel weighty. How simple observation carries authority. How silence itself has become a tool, a weapon, a shield. You have learned that presence does not require surrender. That feeling does not require destruction. That consciousness once sharpened is a force, and it is yours. This is the awakening that is not celebrated, that is not heralded. The world does not notice. The sun does not shine brighter. The laughter of others does not change. And yet, everything within you has shifted. The quiet power that emerges now is cold, precise, unwavering. It does not seek approval. It does not seek recognition. It only exists. Pause. Let the stillness fill the space around you. Listen to your own heartbeat, measure the silence. The power you feel is subtle, almost imperceptible to anyone else, but to you it is absolute. It is the awareness of your own mind, the acknowledgement of your own capacity, the recognition of the self that persists even when surrounded by chaos, even when submerged in the suffering of others, even when fractured and alone. You may sense the world differently now. Its noise may seem distant. Its currents may feel shallow, its demands may appear trivial, and yet you remain present, not fully absorbed, not fully surrendered, but aware, unflinching, capable of carrying what is necessary and leaving behind what is not. Do you notice the subtle change in your perception of emotion? That the same feelings that once overwhelmed you now move through you with shape and weight? That you are no longer the passive vessel, but the observer, the arbiter, the guardian of your own inner life. This is your power, quiet, deliberate, and dangerous. Pause. Consider the implications. You have survived collapse, you have embraced the shadow, you have withdrawn without surrender, and now in this cold awakening, you are both alone and complete. Not complete in comfort, not complete in happiness, not complete in peace, but complete in awareness, complete in the recognition of your own depth, complete in the acceptance of the dangerous, potent self that has always existed beneath the surface. It is not triumph, it is not mastery, it is presence. Presence that commands, presence that observes, presence that endures, presence that survives, presence that knows. And in this presence, the world continues oblivious, unchanging. The currents of emotion still flow, the chaos of life still churns. And yet, you are no longer lost in it. You are no longer consumed. You remain cold, precise, awake, and powerful in a way that is invisible to anyone but yourself. Pause, breathe, feel it, let it settle. The awakening is not soft, it is not kind, it is not meant to comfort, it is absolute, unflinching, and yours. The world moves on. Outside, the noise continues. Laughter, conversation, fleeting gestures, the shallow currents of life, everything persists as if nothing has changed. And perhaps to the world, nothing has. Perhaps to anyone else you remain the same face, the same hands, the same quiet body moving through the day. But you are not the same. Pause, breathe, feel it. The subtle difference in the air around you, the weight of awareness that no one can touch, the quiet power that no one can see, the lingering shadows that now inhabit you fully. The old life is gone, not violently, not dramatically, but irretrievably. The illusions you held, the compromises you made, the endless absorption of the world's chaos, they no longer bind you. And yet, there is emptiness, quiet, heavy, uncomfortable. You are alone in ways that are not remedied by presence, by company, by words, or by touch. And perhaps that is the final truth, that the most profound awareness is solitary, that the deepest understanding is reserved for the one who sees fully, without distraction, without denial, without hope of being soothed. You have stepped through collapse. You have confronted the shadow. You have withdrawn. You have claimed your cold clarity. And in each step you have learned that emotions, your own and those of others, are dangerous forces. They can destroy, they can transform, they can isolate, and yet they are yours to observe, yours to navigate, yours to acknowledge without surrender. Pause, let the quiet stretch, listen to the subtle rhythms of your body, hear the echoes of the world outside, recognize that you have been changed irreversibly, that the self you were absorbing, bending, blending, sacrificing exists no longer, and that the self that remains is precise, aware, unflinching, and profoundly alone. Do you feel the tension, the weight of it, the knowledge that you have survived but only in solitude, that your inner life is now yours alone to command, observe, and inhabit? It is a strange kind of clarity, not comforting, not triumphant, not reassuring, but absolute. And that is the point. Absolute awareness is never comfortable. It is never warm. It is not meant to heal. It is meant to illuminate. You may sense a lingering unease, a quiet unrest, a shadow of what you have absorbed and a shadow of what you now contain. And that is the proper state for someone like you, someone who has felt too much, who has absorbed too deeply, who has seen too clearly. The world continues, bright and careless. But you remain silent, observant, intact in a way that is invisible but undeniable. Pause, breathe, consider the implications. You are alone, not broken, not diminished, but alone. Your empathy has sculpted you, refined you, sharpened you, and in that sharpening there is power, cold, deliberate, dangerous power. It is not comfort, it is not reassurance, it is truth. And in the truth, you endure. You endure without applause, without recognition, without companionship that fully grasps the depth of your existence. You endure because endurance is all that remains. You endure because the self that emerges from collapse, from shadow, from detachment, and from awakening is unrelenting. It is precise. It is dangerous. It is wholly undeniably you. And the world will not notice. The world will not pause. It will not ask. It will not bow to the quiet force that persists. But that is not the point. The point is that you have survived. You have witnessed. You have endured. You have claimed what is yours: awareness, solitude, and the cold clarity that comes from seeing without flinching. And now, you move forward, not healed, not reconciled, not comforted, but fully, irrevocably awake, fully present to yourself, to your shadow, to your power, and to the dangerous beauty of being alive in a world that will never understand the weight you carry. Pause, let it linger, let it settle, let the silence stretch. You are alone, and you are unavoidably yourself.